You've probably seen Bane do this and this. I mean, he can be built as a maze, a fighter, or even a hybrid. He can be played in EXP lane, jungle, gold lane, and yeah, even mid lane if you're feeling creative. He's got poke, sustain, burst, and even CC. On paper, his kit is insanely versatile, yet somehow he's perfectly balanced. But here's the twist. Once upon a time, Bane was a joke. I'm talking about one of the absolute worst heroes in Mobile Legends history. The pirate we know today went through one of the lamest rework the game had ever seen. But out of that failure came something unexpected. So today, we're diving into his chilling lore, the patches and rework that shaped him, and the impact he's had on the pro scene. Let's start with the man behind the marks, or the squid. In the frozen seas of the Northern Vale, a tyrant once ruled the waves. They called him Bane, Lord of the Black Shark Fleet. He wasn't born noble, he was a cutthroat who clawed his way through blood and betrayal. He literally murdered his own uncle to seize the mighty ship, the Behemoth. For years he reigned, a king forged in cannon fire. But as the saying goes, every villain needs a hero. Enter Franco. So this is what happened in the lore. Bane got greedy, tried to trick Franco and the Monian Empire to spark a war, hoping to profit from the chaos. But Franco wasn't a brute. He saw right through the deceit. He struck from the mesh, cannon fire ripped through the Behemoth. The ship sank beneath the ice. And with that, the man who once ruled the seas. But that? Nah, that wasn't the end. Bane's body drifted into a forgotten temple, where the Aurora heart glowed with ancient unstable power. It revived him, twisted him, it changed his soul. He rose once again, not as a man, but something else. A hybrid of rotting flesh, ice, and sea monster. Now he sails once more, not for gold, not for glory, but to reclaim the seas that dare forget his name. This is the story of Bane. Okay, so let's rewind the clock. Bane the Frozen King was released all the way back in 2016. He was the 11th hero to ever join Mobile Legends. We're talking about the caveman era of MLBB. Back then, Mundun didn't exactly care about intellectual property. Hakai was literally Pooh from Kung Fu Panda. Alucard was straight up Dante copy from Devil May Cry. And Bane, he was just Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean. They didn't even try to hide it. In fact, his original lore was almost word for word lifted from David Jones' story. Gameplay-wise, his kit was weird. It was built entirely around summoning and seizing. His passive Shark Bite dealt slash AoE basic attack damage every 6 seconds. His first skill, Crab Claw Cannon, fired a literal cannonball dealing slash damage. Kinda similar to how Louis' first skill works today. His second skill, Rum Heal, was actually unique. He placed a barrel of rum on the ground that healed him and his allies. And finally, his ultimate, Air Assault. He summoned a ghostly battleship to bombard enemies from above. On paper, he was a sustained fighter and a turret pusher. But in reality, if you picked Bane in 2016, you had one job: push towers. You ignored team fights, you ignored the objectives, you just hit turrets. Bane mains were basically Geelong mains of 2016. But as the game evolved, Bane aged like milk. New heroes flooded in. Flashier, faster, and honestly just blatantly overpowered. Compared to them, Bane was a relic. He was clunky, slow, had 0 dash skills, and his cooldowns were an eternity. That's why he disappeared from the game. If you picked him in draft, it was literally 4v5. So Mundun decided to fix him. In January 2018, the rework dropped. Everyone was hyped until they saw the design. He went from a revenge-driven ghost pirate to a chubby crabman straight out of a fever dream. The memes back then were brutal. But visuals aside, this update introduced a dual scaling mechanic that would define how Bane would be played in the future. They rebuilt his entire kit. The old Air Assault battleship was scrapped for something much hungrier, a school of shark that locked onto a target and chased him down. His second skill was now a 2-state ability. State 1, it drinks ale to heal. Stage 2 is spits venom to damage. But here was the problem. His heal scaled with magic power. His spit damage scaled with physical attack. If you built physical items like Blade of Despair, your damage was good, but your heal was useless. If you built magic items like Holy Crystal, you healed a lot, but your damage only tickled the enemies. It made no sense. There was no synergy. Even after the so-called complete rework, Bane was stuck in a limbo. He wasn't a maze, he wasn't a fighter, he was just a crab. But things finally started to change after this patch. In June 2019, Moon finally gave Bane the overhaul he needed. His kit became smoother. His first skill now bounced to a second target. His ultimate was now a directional skill and could CC. And his physical scaling was finally worth building around. For the first time in years, Bane felt playable. Not strong, not meta, just usable. But even with this improvement, he still lacked a true identity. He remained a niche pick with almost no competitive relevance. And then fast forward to March 2021, this patch changed everything. Moondawn decided to embrace the chaos. They adjusted his scaling so that his ability benefited from both physical and magic stats properly. Suddenly, Maze Bane was born. His second skill turned into a nuclear spit with a massive heal. But the real game changer was his push potential. They gave his sword the ability to damage turrets. And I don't mean a little chip damage. I mean he could literally melt towers without minions. Bane was finally meta.
Pero mukhang magkakaroon ng labanan. Circling Eagle, pasok na dito. And that is going to be Kelra taking down yung torre. Wala siya kaya. 2v1 pero sugit na sila sa base burst. Ito na ata yun. At ito ang pagtakbo. Tignan natin kung kakayanin. Stun nila at lahat. Kelra's still alive. At isa na lang. Kakayanin ko! Jack to! Nasakit na! Nandun! Sabay! Taas! Si Kelra! Oh my God!
And for the first time in competitive history, he was ready for the big stage. Welcome to M3 World Championship. This was Bane's peak.
Away, and that's a misplay by Potato. But look wise in a 1v2.
Oh my God!
Wise!
Must initiate the fight here as Momo trying to hold on to his own egos down straight away. This gear is way too tanky for him to hold on.
The bounce from the crab fall off of Fouray's head. He goes down next.
Oh, that's going to be Lil Pop. One, and there you go. No, that's from behind the turret. That's 3 down immediately. Nagib helping Lil get that double. LY4, he's not going to survive this. He still stands. He's got the hail on him. He gets a double.
Stop the recall so that Potato can open the inhibitor so fast and so
Thanks to his buff, that single mechanic ignoring turret defense broke the game. A team could win one fight and immediately take an inhibitor, bypassing standard defenses completely.
inhibitor turrets for their transgression.
Potato can do his job because Alien is not here. Look at this. That's going to be far away to the back lines. Paranoid taken down. Gear is doing his job. Asmo gets caught in the deadly catch. Hits that inhibitor in mid. Carway taken down. Just like that.
Active on the map, that is exactly it.
Oh! What a jump in by Diablo. Feather Death Strike almost taking down Defender.
Now Evo says she once again. It'll keep already taking too much damage for Sale with the Yin Yang Ultra. He's trying to heal on up, but they're looking to try and end this game. Evo have done it!
Blacklist exploited this to perfection. They slotted Bane into the jungle and surrounded him with the Ube strat, the ultimate bonding experience. Basically, you pair a support with Bane, the team groups around as an unkillable death ball.
Pathway, but Adamir is gonna get taken down. Oheb looking for more. Double kill for Oheb. The Filipino sniper going ham in the backside. Edward coming in, going for the knockout strike onto Gear is gonna get taken down. A triple kill for Oheb. This is all this. It is all Blacklist at this moment right now, taking a tier 2 on the way as well. Venus gonna get stunned right now, like possibly being able to get the damage done, but White Chicken is gonna get targeted. He's gonna get taken down. Right now it's an all fight. Last connected on the 3 members right now. You know what was it going into the Lycan Pop? Is gonna get taken down though. Shark now in the midst of it all, trying to run away. Edward's gonna be able to pick up the kill.
Okay.
Go ahead, goes to the spot force all the way to the backside, going for the kill.
And that, they can keep them in their base for a minute, they will not be able to farm.
Yeah, look at that, then the cat going in. Knockoff strike and finishes it off. It's gonna be Louise and Takashi taken down. Edward goes different prime. That is gonna be the cannonball to take
For
them down.
this brief window, Bane was the strongest objective hero Mobile Legends had ever seen. He forced teams to ban him or lose. But of course, all good things must come to an end. Post M3, the nerfs came down hard. They removed his abilities to melt turrets without minions. And with that, he disappeared from the pro scene, returning to being a niche EXP or a pocket picks across MPLs. He felt off for a bit. Until recently, with the latest buffs, Bane exploded back into the scene, especially for magic builds. In MPL Season 16, he hit a 72% win rate. Insane for a hero people thought was dead. Sure, Mundun probably did it to sell a skin, but who cares? Bane is back. Whether you play him physical for split pushing or magic for the juicy brush damage, he's finally in a good spot. I love playing Bane. In the game of flashy mechanical assassins, there's something satisfying about a pirate who walks up, spits at you, and deletes your HP power. But what do you guys think? Is the current Bane broken? Or is it finally balanced? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thank you for watching, gang. This took a lot of time, bro. This took a lot of time.